What's up, good people? You got Lavelle here, aka Vell, and welcome to my channel. Today we are back with another full episode recap of Welcome to Sweetie Pies. And today we are recapping season 1 episode 3, which is titled Special Delivery. So this particular episode starts on Father's Day. The staff is preparing for a big crowd rush for the special day, and the male staff are being wished Happy Father's Day. Tim in his confessional mentions that Janae at that point is 6 months pregnant with TJ, and he's talking about his background and how he grew up without a father because his father was murdered when MissRobbie was only 6 or 7 months pregnant with him. So he was talking about how there was no male influence in their household or in their family, and that they were raised by the females in their family. He mentioned that Bill Cosby was the only male role model that he had in his entire life. And what I found that was very interesting is that Tim said that he had no idea how to be a father because of the fact that he did not grow up with any male influence in his life directly. And so he says for his son, he wanted to change that and definitely be in his son's life to guide him and show him a better way of life. Now, what we now know is that Tim was not really a full part of TJ's life or a consistent part of TJ's life. And now, with everything happening with the murder for hire case and the trial that's coming up soon, and pretty much he's facing life in prison, if not the death penalty. So TJ thankfully has a father figure in his stepfather, but that cycle in the Montgomery family of not having that male role model is a cycle that unfortunately hasn't been broken yet. So in the next scene, we have MissRobbie and her employees. They are gathering for a prayer. They are holding hands. And what I found was interesting is that I guess I forgot or I didn't notice. I think I may have forgotten, but before they actually start serving, they do a prayer. So they have the customers inside of the restaurant and they're waiting to be served, and they actually take a moment and have the prayer before they even start serving any of the customers. And I found that to be like really cool, that it didn't look like the customers were being impatient. And the fact that they're starting off, it just shows how rooted MissRobbie is on a spiritual level to the success of her business, and that her faith comes first. And that's clearly evident in this scene here. So as they're singing "This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine," the customers are clapping along and singing along. So it was really, really cool to see that. So now we're at the register with Tim, Janae, and MissRobbie. Janae is bringing up the fact that, you know, she wants to start looking at reception halls and kind of starting with the wedding planning. So she's trying to get Tim to commit to a time when they can go look at reception halls. So then Tim says, basically, I don't have time for that. That's on you. You guys can look at that. I don't have time. You see how busy I am. And basically he's blowing it off and being very dismissive of Janae and the planning. So they go in the back hall. MissRobbie's like, you know, you guys go talk about that. Get out the way. Let me serve these customers. And so they go in the hallway and Janae is saying, hey, like, we only have 3 more months before the baby is born. She's saying my mother and father are really on me because they really want me to get married before the baby comes, and we only have 3 months. And so Tim is saying, well, you're coming to me now, and you see I'm busy, you see how busy it is today. And she's like, I'm not asking you today. I'm saying let's plan like when we're gonna go, like on your off day next week or something. So Janae is saying, you asked me to marry you, and now you're acting like, you know, you're not interested. And I think that was a lot of like immaturity on the part of Tim, and it kind of leads into his earlier statement in his confessional that he had no male role models in his life to know how to be not only a father, which is what he was talking about earlier, but really a husband, a mate, a partner. He doesn't know what that looks like. So for him, he felt like his job was done after he proposed. And we clearly, all of us, we clearly know that your job is just beginning once you propose. So that was interesting, and we now can see how why they never really got married. I guess we're gonna see it play out, because I can't remember all the particulars of what really made it not happen, but we know, because now we're in the future, that they never got married, and we can start to see the cracks of why that happened. So in our next scene, we have Jasmine, our friend Jasmine from the last episode, who is an aspiring singer. She's going to be auditioning for American Idol, etc., etc. She is waiting tables, and she is extremely upset because D is around there, and he is the floor manager for the wait staff, and he is taking over all of the tables, and that's how they gain their tips. So basically, he's taking over. She's not able to get the tips. She gets upset. She's talking to Tim and MissRobbie and complaining about it. MissRobbie at a certain point is having enough of it because she's like, you know, you got to get out there and you got to hustle, you know, to name the game out here, etc., etc. And it is busy, and she's like, I'm trying to run a business. I shouldn't have to be involved in these things. It is too small of an issue for everything I have on my plate. So eventually she tires of just hearing it because it just won't go away. And so she pulls Jasmine out into the back of the restaurant. They are talking. She's trying to give her words of wisdom because Jasmine has a temper, and she's saying your temper is part of the issue. She's saying, I'm not saying you're right or wrong in this particular situation. She's telling Jasmine that she's sitting there steaming and concentrating so much over being mad that she's missing more money. And so MissRobbie gives her as much wise counseling as possible, but she then says in her confessional that she doesn't think that Jasmine heard any of it. So then she tells the crew to put Jasmine back on the floor. Jasmine instead just makes a beeline for the front door, I guess like she was just quitting the job. She drives off, she leaves, doesn't say anything to anyone. But then, because I'm thinking like, oh, Jasmine quit. No, Jasmine comes back an hour later and then returns to work like nothing happened. Jasmine in her confessional says she returned, although she was mad, she returned because she realized she needed the money. So it's like you quit, but then you just came back on your own. That's not how it works in the business world. But anyway, she then, because Jasmine's a piece of work is what I'm seeing, she then tells MissRobbie that she needs to leave because she can't work the rest of her shift because she was supposed to be there till 8 p.m. but that she was going to end up needing to end her shift 4 hours earlier because she had something else to do. MissRobbie's like, are you asking me or are you telling me? And she's like, I'm gonna have to leave. I'm telling you I'm gonna have to leave. MissRobbie basically says, you can't dictate your hours. That's not how it works. And she was like, it's busy. There are people who need this job and want those hours, and I can't have you just coming and going when you please. So then Jasmine says, well, this won't happen again. MissRobbie says, I know because I'm letting you go. So we see that MissRobbie plays no game. She's like, I don't have time to be mothering my staff. And so she lets Jasmine go. Jasmine leaves, as Jasmine should have, because she was doing a lot. So in the next scene, MissRobbie's talking about one of her star employees, which is Pops. Pops, she says, is the oldest employee working at the restaurant. He owned a few restaurants throughout his lifetime. He also had a very popular restaurant in the St. Louis area. And now he's basically retired and he just wanted something to do. So he works at the restaurant. He's the person who opens up for her. He has keys to her restaurants, and she says that she can depend on him. Well, just after she says all of that in her confessional, Tim rolls up on Pops. He is putting basically a few slabs of ribs from his car into another woman's car. Tim then jumps out of his car. He's like, hey, Pops, what is going on? This ain't looking good. It looks like you're, stealing food from the restaurant. Pops is explaining that no, he actually had it in his car. He never took it in the restaurant as his. He would never steal, etc., etc. So then Tim runs in. He tells MissRobbie what's going on. MissRobbie confronts Pops. Pops states that, hey, I didn't bring it in, and he has the receipt for the ribs. So MissRobbie's like, okay, well, thank you for having the receipt. So we're showing that he didn't steal the ribs. So then MissRobbie is saying, every employee knows not to bring outside food into the restaurant. Just as MissRobbie's walking away and she's left outside of the kitchen, one of the employees tricks off on Pops and says that he actually did bring the ribs in and he prepared them. So MissRobbie now is irate. She goes back in, she confronts Pops, and she says, you lied to me. You actually did prepare the ribs here. And he said, I forgot that I brought them in. He was like, I just prepped them. She said, well, you're lying because you said you never even brought them in. Then he said he forgot. So MissRobbie wasn't having it. She was snapping off. She says he's a liar. And she said in her confessional, she really didn't have an issue. It wasn't about the ribs and it wasn't about the marinade he used to prepare them. It was the fact that he lied about it. And so she then snaps off. She tells the Hero staff, this is my restaurant, this is a business. Don't bring nothing here to prepare it. She is livid. She was taking no prisoners whatsoever. And I think her message was clear at that point. So then Charles shows up to work. He's asking about Jasmine. He's not aware that she's been terminated. And so he's asking when was the last time she was there. The other employee says that he knows MissRobbie sent her home, but he's thinking maybe she was suspended or something. So Charles then goes to talk to MissRobbie to see what's going on with the whereabouts of Jasmine. He says that he's hoping that she didn't get fired because he would not want to come there anymore if she wasn't there. MissRobbie then tells him Jasmine is spoiled. She let her go, she didn't want to work. And then she tells Charles, basically, you do what you need to do before you be meeting Jasmine out there. Meaning on the unemployment line. So then MissRobbie, Tim, and Pops are having a sidebar, heart-to-heart conversation about the conversation earlier, or the fallout, about the ribs. MissRobbie saying that she's going to give Pops another chance, but she's telling him that she's still very, very upset about the whole situation, and she's saying please don't have anything like that happen again because now he's being watched. Tim is then feeling bad about the whole situation and apologizing to Pops about how it all went down, and he's basically saying he now feels bad about it. MissRobbie's saying she's still mad at Pops about the whole thing, and he's like, I know you're mad at me. So then MissRobbie in her confessional says that she's gonna be keeping an eye on Pops, and she says because to her, once you lie, you're a liar. And so she says she doesn't lie, but then she corrects herself and says, well, I don't lie and get caught. That's the important thing, is not to get caught in your lie. So in the next scene, we have Janae and Tim. They are at the doctor's office for Janae's 6-month checkup. While they're in the room waiting for the doctor and talking to the nurse, Janae asks Tim, does he remember what their plans were for that evening? He says, yeah, getting Chinese food, right? And she says, no, we're supposed to be planning for the wedding this evening, going over the guest list, etc., etc. He then says, oh, was that tonight? Because I have JR coming over because we're supposed to be working on music. So we know Tim, and I didn't know that his playing around with music goes back that far. So then Janae says, you invited JR over at the time you know I'm getting off of work? So basically, like, now you're infringing on your quality time with Janae. In addition to that, you're supposed to be planning for this wedding that you keep trying to avoid. So then Tim says, well, we can still work on all of the wedding stuff and then we can have dinner. Well, then Janae is like, and JR's supposed to sit and wait the entire time? Tim then says, and this is so immature, he says that his friend can play with the dog and do music and play around with the music until they're done. This, to me, is a clear example of immaturity and a huge reason why their relationship didn't work. Because he didn't even know how, even in the earlier stages, to prioritize their relationship. This is your only day off in the week. So instead of telling your friend that, hey, we need to reschedule this, he then would rather make his fiance be uncomfortable and rush her through quality time and planning of the wedding. Because I'm sure he wasn't going to be sitting there patiently waiting while his friend is in another part of the house waiting on him. I'm sure he was going to be rushing her like, hey, what time, why are we still doing this, you know? So yeah, that to me was a big red flag. So then the doctor comes in and he checks Janae's blood pressure. It's high, and she's saying that she's not sure why her blood pressure is high, besides she blamed Tim for stressing her out over his wedding crap. But she was saying that she's really taking care of herself. She's been exercising and being really healthy and mindful during her pregnancy. So then the doctor checks Janae's blood pressure once again, and it is still high. He then shares with her that unfortunately this is not good news because her blood pressure should be lower in the second trimester, and it's not normal for it to be that high, and so they need to start monitoring the baby more closely, and that she will need to go on bed rest. She's asking, is it because she's stressed over the wedding planning and, you know, the baby coming, etc. And he said that that plays a very minor role in it. So then Janae starts crying. She's obviously upset about it. The doctor is consoling her, saying it's not about what you do or don't do. Having these sort of issues during a pregnancy is not something that she could control. So in Tim's confessional, he's then saying that he's upset because he basically is used to being in control, and this is something he can't control and he can't do anything about. And then he says he tries his best to keep himself away from things he can't control. That's, to me, very telling, because we can see that in other parts of Tim's life as well. When he can't control things, he obviously removes himself from it or tries to completely eliminate it, as we see he did with Andre, allegedly. So then Janae gets the news that she will have to remain in the hospital for the duration of her pregnancy. So it starts with she's going for a regular 6-month checkup, and the next thing you know, she finds out that she's gonna have to spend the rest of her pregnancy in the hospital so that they can monitor the development of little Tim and the blood flow that is going from her to her baby. And so Janae is, of course, upset at this point. She's called her parents. They're heading in from Michigan. Tim has reached out to MissRobbie, who's still working at the restaurant. She's dealing with all the chaos there and trying to cover for Tim not being there. And then she finds out that there's a problem with the baby. And so then she's debating on whether she should stay at the restaurant so Tim is less stressed about what's happening at the restaurant, or should she go to the hospital and be there as a mother and a future grandmother for her son and her future grandchild. So just when you think things are getting bad as bad can be, the doctor comes back in and is now telling Janae that through more testing, they have found out that the baby is compensating for the low blood flow, and that he doesn't foresee the baby being able to continue to compensate on that level and not compromise itself. And so he then suggests that they do an emergency C-section that evening. So of course, this is a shock to everyone. Her parents are there, her best friend is now there, Tim is in the room. And so with this reassurance from the doctor that this is their best course of action, they are all now taking this new reality in. Tim then goes out to call MissRobbie to give her the update of what's going on. He is visibly upset. He's telling his mom that now they have to deliver the baby that evening. She's saying that they're going to be prayerful and that God's will be done. Tim then begins to become visibly upset, and he's barely able to communicate with his mom through the phone. He's crying, as you can see. We're seeing emotions for Tim. And I mean, it's not often that we got like real heartfelt emotions out of Tim, just anger. And so now we're actually seeing the softer side of Tim. He is visibly distraught. You see a little bit of the innocence and the child of Tim, like reaching out to his mom and wanting that comfort and trying to hold it together emotionally. In the next scene, MissRobbie has made it to the end of the workday, and she is now closing the restaurant for the evening so that she could rush over to the hospital to be with Jenea and Tim for the emergency C-section. So during her confessional, we actually get a lot of insight into the dynamics of her relationship with Tim and her mothering. And so she then shares for the first time in this series the story about her son, Andre Sr. And she talks about how Andre Sr. was 19 years older than Tim, and so they didn't really know each other. She said they basically just interacted in passing. She said that she really did not raise Andre Sr. because she was on the road traveling and singing. She said that he then gravitated towards a street life and that he was then killed in California. So this gives us some insight into how Tim really didn't have a relationship with his older brother. So once again, what could have potentially been a male influence in his life was not there. In addition, now we see where maybe there was a disconnect with MissRobbie and her firstborn son, and then Tim, and also why Tim is so dear to her heart no matter what he does. She then closes by saying that no mother should ever have to bury their child, and it's a very hard thing to go through no matter whether they're an adult or a child. The entire family is now surrounding Janae's hospital bed. They are all there supporting her and praying as she's about to be taken into surgery to have the C-section. As she's wheeled into surgery and the doors close behind her, Tim sits down and he's talking to the cameras. He's sharing that he's feeling really bad now because they didn't have enough time. He was saying how he was brushing off Janae when she was talking about how the crib needed to be put together and how the baby's room needed to be painted and all the things that she was saying that they needed to do to get prepared. And in his own words, he said that he was brushing her off, and he said now that's making him feel horrible because Now they have no time to do those things, and they're in this sort of predicament. Prayers have gone up, and then the nurse comes in. She says that they've had a baby boy at 7:32. Everyone is cheering, everyone is happy. The doctor then comes in, he gives some more specific updates. MissRobbie is asking, is the baby fully developed? He says the baby is fully developed. However, the umbilical cord was wrapped around the baby's neck, so it was restricting the breathing. And so they have put a tube down into his lungs to help with breathing. So the door is now open and the baby boy is revealed to us. And Tim tells us that the baby's name is Timothy John, and TJ was only 1.6 pounds at that point. Tim is then narrating his words to his son. He says, listen to your mother because she loves you. He says, your grandmother is a nutcase, but she loves you. He called MissRobbie a nutcase. What? Tim then also shares that people have been telling him, you're gonna be a dad, you're gonna be a dad. And he said it really didn't hit him until this moment. He also goes on to say in his message to TJ, I will show you how to try your best and do your best and follow your heart. And that brought that episode to an end. So with that, if you've watched this video to this point, let me know by commenting below. Do your best. I think Tim's first message to his newborn son of do your best is a takeaway that we could all use as well. Yes, do our best. We should do our best in our relationships. Like Tim could have did better with his relationship with Janae. But in our intimate relationships and our relationships with our family, our work relationships, our interpersonal relationship, our relationship in the work, and how we interact even with ourselves. Do our best and how we present ourselves in the world. We should always do our best. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. But if we do our best, we will accomplish what we were all individually created to do in our limited time on this earth. So speaking of doing your best, if you are new to this channel and you have not subscribed yet, subscribe below and click that notification bell so that you can experience the best that YouTube has to offer right here with the EOV subscriber family. And if you are already a part of the EOV subscriber family, you're part of the notification gang, the comment below gang, and the text me community. I thank you guys. I appreciate you. Please remember to show that extra layer of support by, that's right, clicking that like button below so that you can help our channel grow, because YouTube will see that you like it and you're interested, and we will continue to grow. Remember, we're on our road to 10,000 subscribers and we're getting closer with each passing day. So with that, till next time, till I upload the next video, make sure to take care and be blessed. Peace.